Hi, what's going on, guys? My name is Matt Sheldon. I'm a professional soccer player, and I also run a YouTube channel and business called Become Elite. And I'm just stoked to be on Tekksupport podcast. So I'm originally from Portland, Oregon. I attended UC Davis, which is a Division I college soccer program. After 4 years there, I dropped out of school and chased after this dream of being a professional soccer player. So far, I've been a pro for 4 or 5 years now, and I've played all over the world, from Iceland to Germany to America, different parts of America, different cities and states. And lastly, I just finished up down in New Zealand. So now it's off season, and I'm just looking to get my next contract for the 2019 season, preferably in America, but anywhere, you just have to follow the game wherever comes next. So that's my story. And during this whole process, back when I was in Germany, I started a YouTube channel that really kind of shows the day in the life or the behind the scenes of a professional soccer player. I did some tutorials, I do some other kind of fun videos, but mainly the main goal of the channel is to show what it's really like to be a professional soccer player that's not at the highest level, that's not playing in La Liga, making millions and millions of dollars every single week or year or whatever. This is what is the truth and what it's really like for the majority of professional soccer players out there that kind of scrape by on these year, 9-month contracts and just the grind that comes along with it. So I've been doing that now for 3 years and loving it, and just want to continue to play professional soccer and continue to make videos to educate kids and help them with their goals of being a pro or playing in college or whatever that might be. Question 1, what clubs do you support from each big league? To be honest, I kind of grew up not really in a soccer family. I was a basketball player, my dad played basketball, he loved basketball, and I only really played soccer from the years of 5 to 11, just because I was too small to play American football. I didn't really develop a love for soccer until I was 12, 13, 14. And in those years, that's when I really started to watch more and more soccer. But to be honest, growing up, I never really developed like a full love for a team. And so I never really grew up watching these games over and over again, which is something that I don't know if I regret, but I just wish I had that. I wish I came from a soccer family, even though my dad did so much to support me. But no, so I don't really have that diehard, that I follow a team religiously, every single game, all that stuff. I like watching good soccer. I love watching the EPL and La Liga and Bundesliga. And I have certain teams that I dislike or players that I like or dislike. But I think if I had to choose, it would probably be supporting Arsenal. And I mainly have teams that I don't like. I really don't like Chelsea. I don't like Manchester United. I don't like Barcelona, to be honest. I respect what they do. I love watching them play, and I think they're great teams with great players. But it's just like that thing inside of you that you can't root for them. So I'd say I probably root for Arsenal. I definitely, in the league, I really don't have a team that I truly root for. And then in Bundesliga, again, it's hard. I would say Borussia Dortmund is some team that I love to watch, and Bayern Munich is a team that I really don't like to watch. Or I should say I can't root for, but I still like to watch, if that makes sense. Question 2, what mindset must you have in order to become a pro? I think this is a good question. I think it's a really, really good question. I think there's a lot of things that you need in order to be a pro. I think that the first thing that you need is to have like a resilience. I think that from my experience, the players that had the skills and the talent and everything to become a pro, the reason they didn't become a pro is because they quit. They got to that first hardship, they got cut from that first team, they did their first trial where they didn't make it or whatever, or they got to the first team where they got put on the bench, and then immediately they crack and they quit. And I've seen that over and over again at the college level, at the pro level, semi-pro level, everything. The players that can go through those failures or have those, get cut and cut and cut and rejected and rejected and rejected and continue to pursue a professional contract, and just have that mindset of like, I don't know, just not, when you have that failure, to not be afraid of rejection or afraid of failure. I think those are the players that will stick with it and become a pro. So I think the number one thing is you can't fear rejection. You can't fear failure, because as soon as you get that first failure, you have to, if you don't handle it right, you're not going to be a pro. And every single pro goes through one cut, being cut from a team, or one rejection, or put on the bench, or a coach that doesn't like them. And if you quit, obviously you're not going to become a pro. So I think the first thing right off the bat is to not be afraid of rejection or failure. And then as well as just a work ethic. I think you need to be dedicated, you need to be obsessed and just love the process of training and working out, because again, as you get higher and higher up and with these higher leagues and higher levels, and you have to go and train every single day with really tough conditions and it's a grind, you have to absolutely love it and be obsessed with improving and taking your game to the next level, because if you aren't, you're not going to last, because the players that don't absolutely love it, they're going to get weeded out, because they're going, why am I doing this? Why am I working my butt off every single day, going through tons of crap, being put on the bench, grinding and grinding and grinding for a process that I don't really love? So I think those are the two main things: not being afraid of rejection or failure, and loving and being obsessed with the process of improving and progressing up your game. Question 3, claim to fame: the best player / team you've played with or against. I think that the best team that I've played with would have to be St. Louis FC in the second division of American professional soccer. That was the highest level team. Orange County Blues was a great team as well, but at that time we competed in the third division of U.S. professional soccer, because NASL was in the second division. So technically the best team I played for was St. Louis FC. I'd say the best team I played against was Orlando City Soccer Club, the MLS team, and the best player would be Kaká on that team. And the best player I've played with, I've played with a few players with either EPL or Bundesliga experience, and I would probably say that the best player I played with would probably have to be Richard Chaplow. He had a very successful season or career over in England, and then came over and played with us at the Orange County Blues. So those are my little claims to fame, and they're not huge, but it's definitely something, and I'm some stuff that I'm really, really proud of. Question 4, what prepared you to play at the next level? From food, nutrition, workout routine, new program, recruitment process, etc. I would honestly say everything. I really do think that every single thing has a purpose as to why I've played at the next level. And I think they're all equally important, because I've seen, I've gone through and I've played at the very low levels of semi-professional soccer, collegiate soccer, and I've played with so many players that seem to have everything, but maybe lack in one area or two areas that they just don't have. And I think it's the most well-rounded players that are good at everything, that do everything they can to become a pro, and then excel in one or two areas that really do become a pro. Because I've seen really, really talented players that just don't have the food, nutrition, and like the actual fitness level honed in at the pro level. And so whenever they go on these trials to try to get a pro team, I've seen it a lot, and coaches go, he's got everything. He's got everything we want in defensive center mid. He has great distribution, blah, 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 blah. But they even say that I don't think he has the mentality to really be a pro in terms of the fitness required, eating healthy and doing that, because his body type or whatever is a limiting factor. And when you have another player that's just as skilled, or maybe just slightly less skilled, but you can see that he's doing everything else right, the food, nutrition, the fitness, and he's ready, many coaches are going to go with the guy who's fit, who has the healthy diet, who treats his body and treats this as a professional. He's a professional, versus the guy that might not be a professional in terms of how he treats stuff outside of just training. And the exact opposite, I've seen players that that do everything right to become a pro, everything right from their own workout routines, their training, all this stuff, but then just when they get on the field, might not have the right mentality, the confidence behind their moves and their play. And even though they do everything, the food, the nutrition, the training programs, everything, when they get on the field, they crumble in certain situations because they don't have the right mentality. So I think what has helped me get to the next level is really doing everything and becoming the most well-rounded player I possibly can, with very little or no weaknesses. I don't want to say I have no weaknesses, but always constantly improving my weaknesses and trying to make them my strengths, while as well having very clearly defined strengths. For example, like my work rate, my speed and athleticism are definitely, and my dribbling up the line are definitely like my strengths in my game. And I'm always constantly working to bring up my weaknesses. So, I think that the emphasis I put on my nutrition, the emphasis I put on my workouts, my training routine, just how I treat my mentality and how I approach to the game and stuff like that, I think they're all equally important to become a pro and to reach the next level, whatever that level may be. Because I think if you ignore one aspect or you don't focus on one aspect, that could be, your Achilles heel and the reason why you don't get a pro contract. Question 5, what high school career you had, recruitment process to collegiate level, and then so on. So I had, if you want to talk about a terrible high school career, like I am the perfect example of that. I mean, freshman year, I came in, I was 100 pounds and 5'2", tiny, very skilled. I was one of the most skilled players out there, doing everything right. The coach was like, "You're way too small to be varsity level," which was fair because I was literally 100 pounds. And you're going up against 18-year-old guys with full beards that weigh 200 pounds. So he just said, "Look, you're not ready for the varsity level." Put me on JV. I had a great time at junior varsity. I got a lot of playing time. Got like a couple goals, nothing crazy. I was one of the better freshmen, or if not the best freshman. But I definitely wasn't like, "Oh yeah, this guy's going to go to the collegiate level or pro level." Like I wasn't a standout at all. Sophomore year, I made the varsity team. And and I'm also playing club soccer as well throughout this in the off seasons with some various decent, pretty good club teams. But then sophomore year, I made varsity, but I think I came off the bench in a few games. I didn't have the best sophomore year. I just my confidence wasn't very good. I was like one of the only sophomores on the team. I just kind of crumbled, I'd say. I like just in the last question, I didn't have that confidence, the mentality of like, let's just go, let's play. I was still undersized. I was still small. The coach didn't put me in a lot of games because he thought I was going to get hurt. And, I struggled. I struggled with that. So that was definitely tough. And then junior year, I came in, I was really excited. I had a really good off season, training with my club team, which actually was on the B team. So I'm not at this point going to my junior year. I'm still on the B team, my club team. I'm not a standout. Things are just not, it's not looking like I'm going to play in college. And that wasn't even really my goal. My goal was just to have a successful high school season or career. Going into junior year, right before the season starts, I tear my gluteus maximus, and I don't remember what side, but just tore it doing I was squatting heavy, and then I was also trying to play at the same time, and then I felt a little twinge, and usually when, now if I would feel that, I pull myself out, rest, and rehab it. I, being dumb and 16, 17 years old, I kept on working out through it, kept on pushing through it, kept on getting worse and worse and worse until I could barely walk. And then I finally pulled myself out, and I needed 3 months of rehab and recovery, which I missed the entire high school season. And then I was still on the B team, my junior year of high school, of my club team. So going through junior year, I was working so hard, working out, training. I was dominating on the B team, and I thought I had the skills, but I just had no success. Going into my senior year, I went to UC Davis ID camp. They actually, and I don't even know what I had. I guess it was my dad pushing me to go to the UC Davis D1 ID camp. Just try it out. And I went there. It was like in June or July of going into my senior year. Within the first hour, I think I was there, the coach really liked how I played. He was talking to me about my GPA, which I told him I had like a 4.2, which he loved because it meant that I could easily get into the school. And he just started recruiting me after that camp. It was like a 5-day camp. But after the first hour, you could just tell, you had that feeling that the coaches were really interested in me. And going into my senior year of high school, that was when all the work and all the hard work and all the just time I had put in and effort finally paid off. And I think that season I scored, it was like a, I don't know, 10 game season or something. I scored like 13 goals, couple assists, like MVP, captain, all this stuff and everything. I finally felt like I had some success. And Oregon State started talking to me. I also went to an ID camp at Oregon State. They'd been following along with my career in high school since I had that kind of standout season my senior year. I went to an ID camp there, which kind of like solidified them recruiting me. And then going into winter, I went to official visits at UC Davis and Oregon State. When I was at UC Davis, they wanted me to join in on another ID camp just to see how I progressed over that half year. They loved me over the weekend as well. They said I did great, and both teams offered me a spot, to sign the national letter tent to come to their school. And for me, I wanted something different. I wanted to go down to California. So I chose UC Davis because I just felt like the coaches wanted me earlier on, and I wanted that go down to California, try something new, because everybody from my high school went to Oregon State, even though Oregon State technically would have been the better soccer program. I think it was more prestigious, but I chose UC Davis because I'm a big believer in that. I think that you should go where the coaches are excited about you and really want you. And I felt that the coaches at UC Davis were more excited about me than the coaches at Oregon State. And then pretty much right after I signed the national letter of intent to go to play at UC Davis, Gonzaga also started talking to my club team coach and wanted me to play there, which I told them I already signed the national letter of intent, and I probably would have still chosen UC Davis. So I think that what really helped me get recruited, obviously, was the ID camps. I just, I booked a ticket, booked a flight, booked a hotel room, and just went for it down at UC Davis, Oregon State, as well as I made a really good highlight video, which after, I sent, I collect my high school senior year highlights or club season highlights and continually send them to UC Davis and Oregon State. And I sent it to UC San Diego and University of San Diego and UC Santa Cruz and Cal Poly and Oregon State, University of Washington, all the schools I was interested in. I sent it out to, didn't get that many replies, but it was attending ID camps, creating a highlight video for myself, sending the highlight video and my CV to these coaches, to these teams, following up on interest. I felt like I was on my computer emailing and talking to coaches and sending off stuff for hours and hours and hours through the course of my senior year and junior year going into the senior year. But just a ton of work. And then whenever you get that little bit of interest, a little bit of like that light at the end of the tunnel, you pursue it like relentlessly and you go after it and follow up and follow up and follow up and keep on their radar. So that's really how I got recruited and attended UC Davis. I didn't even realize I was wearing a UC Davis shirt right now. Question 6. What are the most important traits someone who aspires to be a pro must have? Again, I think that's very similar to question number 4 or so. I think that the traits that they must have is the resilience, like I said, to be able to accept and to continue to pursue their goals even after failure and rejection. Because if you don't have that and you're going to crumble after your first rejection, your first time you get cut, you're going to fail. I know you're going to get weeded out for sure. Of course, you need to have that obsession of the game. You need to love it. You need to love the grind, the process of it, which comes with work ethic and dedication. And I really think that as well as coachability, you see, and those are the stuff I just talked about in the previous question. But I think in addition to that, I think you need to be coachable and a personable, because I've seen many, many players that have everything. They got everything, better soccer players than I am, better work ethic or whatever than I am. But their attitudes, they can't look a coach in the eye and shake his hand, or they're just, they scoff and they roll their eyes and do stuff like that. No coach is going to want to bring them in, So in addition to the obvious stuff of you need to not be afraid of rejection, you need to be dedicated with a good work ethic. I think you also need to be personable and coachable and just a person that can talk to people and shake hands and send out emails, because majority of becoming a pro, as much as it sucks to hear, but majority of becoming a pro is that back end networking, talking, sending emails, shaking hands, and doing stuff like that. That is majority of how you get to the pro level, your connections and your networking and your relationships and stuff like that. And if you can't call somebody on the phone and talk to an agent, or you can't send an email that's legible and shows that you're a decent person to a coach, or when you attend a tryout, if you can't show that you have a good attitude and you're not getting mad at all your other teammates, then there's no way you're going to make it to the pro level. You need to have that. You need to be coachable. You need to have that back end of being able to shake hands and talk and be a normal person. I shouldn't say normal. I should say you should be able to be personable. Coaches should honestly like you and think that they want to have you on the team. They want to spend time with you, because that's just as important. It really, really is. Other than that, I think that you need to be confident in your abilities, confident in yourself as well. I think that a lot of players I've seen that have been great players crumble because they don't have that confidence in their abilities. And I'm not saying that like I go out there and I'm confident every time. But I think that I can either put on a display of confidence or show confidence, or I'm confident enough in my abilities that I don't crumble when I'm on the field or I'm put into new situations. And lastly, I think that you really need to be able to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I think that's a very, very important thing too. The amount of situations that I've been uncomfortable in terms of trials, combines, flying over to new countries, and sleeping on somebody's couch that I just met, and doing these crazy, crazy uncomfortable situations. And I will not lie. Like going to some of these trials, and you're the new guy that shows up to training, and everybody knows each other, and everybody's speaking German, and you don't know anybody, and you're just in the locker room, just tying your boots, getting ready to go out and play, and everybody's judging you, everybody's looking to see how good you are, and maybe even treating you badly because they don't want you to come in and take their spot or their job. It sucks. It is one of the most uncomfortable things that you ever have to do in your life, but you have to be so comfortable being uncomfortable. Same thing. Emailing coaches, emailing teams, doing the back end of talking to agents and reaching out is not fun. It's not fun cold calling, cold emailing these teams and then getting rejected or not even emailed back. But you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable in doing those situations. So again, I think there's a whole slew of things that players need to have in order to become a pro. But there's definitely, those are the ones that stick out to me right now that I can think of. It's funny. Question 7, I actually just kind of answered this in question 6. But what is it like training in a different country other than the US? So I have a really kind of unique answer to this, I think. It is completely different on one hand, and at the same exact time, it is exactly the same. So let me try to explain this. Soccer is soccer. Football is football. Fußball is Fußball. But it's the same game, It's the same type of stuff. Building out of the back, playing, possession, long balls, whipping it across, shooting. If you can play, you'll be able to play regardless of the country. And even though there's slight variances in maybe how Germany or some team in Germany plays versus a team in America, or how that team plays differently than a team in Iceland, or how that varies to the team in New Zealand or wherever you go. But at the same time, if you're a good player, you should be able to quickly adapt to the situation that you're in. And obviously, looking at the kind of like macro of the different countries and their style of play, usually America, yeah, it's more athletic. It's a little bit more kind of based off of speed and athleticism and kind of like run and kind of go and chase after the ball. And Germany is very tactical, and it's pinging the ball, very technical and sharp. And then you go to countries like New Zealand, and it's kind of funny. It's a smaller country, island kind of community where you could be playing with a 16-year-old kind of like almost prodigy, as well as like a 34-year-old guy who's a little bit past his prime. And it's just a very unique dynamic there as well. As well as they definitely have like a rugby mentality where you don't flop, you don't fall. It's a sign of weakness. They hated it over there. It's all very tough. Rugby, New Zealand, we're strong. If you fall and get tackled and you're on the ground, it shows that you're weak. So there's macro differences between the countries. But I think I never really had a problem adjusting to the style of play. I just kind of went out there with the idea of, I'm going to play my game. And yes, of course, if you're in a team or in Germany, you're going to want to play a little bit technically faster, speed of play type like that to try to fit in a little bit better. And you kind of pick that up just naturally. When everybody else is playing one touch, you usually kind of want to play one touch too. And the same thing is if you're in America and people are sprinting and taking people on 1v1, you kind of get used to that, and you kind of play and take people 1v1. But again, like I said, soccer is soccer. It's the same pretty much everywhere you go. And I really, people always ask me how it was like playing over in Germany. And I always kind of respond like, it's still soccer. It's the same game. You go out, you play the game that you've played for 20 odd years, and you just keep doing what you've always done. Question 8, who's been your inspiration/role model in soccer? I think my dad has been like probably the biggest, he never played soccer in his life, but I think he's been the biggest inspiration for me as a player, because he's always been my biggest supporter, as well as not blindly supporting and giving me very practical advice, pushing me to do stuff like emailing coaches and going to attend ID camps and trying to drop out of college and go play pro. But at the same time, not just being like, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best, because that's not my dad. He's very, you need to work on this. You have everything what it takes to be a pro, but you need to work on your long ball. You need to work on your first touch. It's not at the pro level, but it can be. So that was all him. That's exactly how it was. If you work on this, if you put in the work, you're going to be at the pro level. And that mentality has stuck with me. And he's always been pushing me to go up one level higher, one level higher, one level higher. And whenever I have been close to quitting in my career, whether it's this after being cut from my club team 2 years in a row, or whether it was being over in Germany and going like a couple months without signing a contract, and over there super lonely and just kind of feeling unsuccessful, or going through the injury with St. Louis FC and the double surgeries that I needed and being out for 10 months. He's always pushed me to continue to go for it, because you only get one shot at this. You don't want any regret. So I think in that sense, my dad has been my biggest inspiration. But in terms of actual soccer players that got me to love the game, I think it was Ronaldinho when I was about 14 years old. I was obsessed with the joga bonito, the Brazilian like way of life and the soccer. And I loved Ronaldinho and Roberto Carlos and Kaká. And I loved that watching them play. But Ronaldinho was the one who got me to love like the fun, freestyle, and enjoying it, and it just being beautiful. Like I love that idea of it. Because especially, growing up, I kind of viewed soccer as like, let's work, let's train, let's play. But he really got me to show, like, it sounds kind of corny, but like the beauty or like the art behind it and how much fun you can have. And that really inspired me. Like after seeing his videos, with the Nike commercials and stuff, I went out and practiced my around the world, and I was trying to do, chest stalls and back stalls and stuff like that. And I just loved watching him play. So he definitely was a huge inspiration for me to really get to love the game. And then in terms of position, I think that Dani Alves, as I transitioned from a forward to a right back, I really loved watching Dani Alves play. Sergio Ramos is just a defender that I really like to watch play. But I think you can take something from every single player out there. But in terms of loving the game, it was Ronaldinho. And in terms of my career specifically, and not just a soccer player, it was my dad. Question 9, when did you start playing, and when should people start playing? I think that players should start playing as young as possible. I think if you can get them a ball in the cradle, to do it, because why not? I think that even for me, from up till age 5, I think from like when I was a toddler and stuff, I never played soccer. I was just all basketball and baseball. But if, like for my kids, I'm going to be playing soccer with them when they're 1 year old, as soon as they can walk, maybe even before they can walk, they'll just like have them do headers, or not headers. I'll have them just touch a soccer ball or something. But I think as young as possible, get them as many touches on the ball, but not at the same time, not making it a chore, but getting it almost like what Ronaldinho did for me, and getting them to really love the game and to find like beauty and just have fun playing, and just training and doing that. I think if you can get them to do that and love it, as well as also pushing them to get better and to work on stuff like that and to play, I think that's the best thing to do. So I started playing at age 5. I started playing competitively at like a club year round at age 11. But that was kind of like my history with playing soccer. But yeah, I think get them out there as early as possible. Question 10, what are your endeavors for your future of soccer and YouTube? So for soccer, it's always to progress up to the next level. I'm a very big focus on the baby steps. My long-term goal is always very vague. My long-term goal is to play at the highest level of soccer I possibly can. And that was been that same goal when I was 14, and I was thinking about playing on my high school varsity team. Or when I was 18, I was thinking about playing at a D1 college. Or when I was 22 and I wanted to play in the USL. It's always to play at that next highest level, And as soon as I get to the next highest level, it's to perform at that level and then push on to the next level. And that's been a consistent theme in my life. I rarely have like an end goal. It's always higher, higher, higher. Get to the next one, perform, push higher. Get to the next level, perform, push higher. And I think, giving you an example, like I was playing at college soccer. I was playing Division I college soccer, and I didn't really, when I got there freshman and sophomore year, I was scoring goals, but still I wasn't focused on the MLS. I wasn't focused on professional soccer. I was focused just on D1 college soccer, continuing to perform. And in the very short term, my junior year, I really, really wanted to play on the San Jose Earthquakes U23 team in the PDL, which was like a semi-pro team. And that's all I could see. All I could envision and all I wanted was to play for that PDL team, the San Jose Earthquakes U23 team. I played for the San Jose Earthquakes U23 team. I performed there. I scored 6 goals. I started almost every game. And once I did that, that's when the light went off. And I was like, I want to play at the pro level. I want to play in the USL or the MLS. So it was always the next higher level, the tiny baby steps going up and up and up. And that's just been kind of like the theme of my career. So right now, going down to New Zealand, playing in a not very professional environment, but it's still allowing me to continue to play the game I love for a living. Now it's to get into a more professional setup in either the U.S. or a country that's abroad somewhere, but to push higher from that. That was a very, I don't want to say amateur, but like semi-pro environment again, coming down from the USL. So now I either want to get back into the USL or an equivalent league somewhere else in the world. And then looking forward, hopefully I continue to progress up and up and up at this time in my career and at this age, and going up from the USL to the MLS at that final jump is very, very, very difficult. Going on from that, the next phase of my life is to continue and to go full in on this YouTube channel, and I want to become elite headquarters, and I really want a training facility, a become elite environment, a gym almost with a soccer field, indoor something, courts, maybe indoor field, maybe futsal stuff, a gym, and to take players in and really do kind of like what I am best at and what I feel like I am best at and what I absolutely am obsessed about is focusing on every aspect of a player's game. Their nutrition, their fitness, their athleticism, their speed, their technical skills, their tactical understanding of the game, and then taking and trying to improve everything about that. Have nutritionists and just have like this big facility where you can come in and I can train you one-on-one or in a small group, and we can work and do a good session and then hit the gym. And then after the gym, I'm giving you maybe a lesson or helping you understand how to build muscle or how to have a leaner physique or something. And I really want to take this YouTube channel to the next level and show that process of training high level players in order for them to reach their next goal. Because that's what I'm absolutely obsessed about, is the training to progress people's games. And I think you can see that from my YouTube videos and what I focus on and my training and my workouts and everything. I love that. I'm obsessed with it. So once I can no longer do that for myself, or I no longer wish to do that for myself, it's all about doing that for other players now, through facility, through YouTube, through whatever. And I love YouTube. I love the scalability of it, where you're training people one-on-one. You can only reach that person. With YouTube, you can reach millions, potentially even billions of people. So I want to continue to try to reach more and more people and show what it really takes in terms of the workouts and the fitness and the nutrition to really become a pro and reach your next level, and just help players gain an understanding of what they have to do. So that's my goal for my career, as well as post-career and what I want to do afterwards with Become Elite. But I'm very excited, even in the short term, long term, everything. And it's just, I'm obsessed with it. And I think it's huge to follow your passions and what you're obsessed about. So I just want to thank Tekksupport for allowing me to be on this podcast. Hopefully in the future, I'll be able to do a podcast face-to-face, and so we can really bounce off ideas and conversations, because I think that's the best thing to do. But I really had a good time being on this podcast.